Thank you very much. My name's Vaughn from Toast Inbound. I have the title this morning of How to Rank First for Chocolate, so if that's not got you interested yet, I'm not sure. Now, we've got to start off with a bit of research. I was hoping for two hands, but it's only going to be one. So if you can catch, look up. If you can't catch, can you look down, please? Right. It's very important that we understand, if you want to rank first for chocolate, we've got to understand who our competition is. So I'd like you to look at the chocolate that you've gathered. Oh, it's like a pantomime. There's the people at the back. There you go. Excellent. So how do you rank first for chocolate? The chocolate that you've got in front of you, I think if you look at the names that are on it, you will realize that these are multi-billion-pound organizations who sell you chocolate. And you want to rank first for chocolate? I think it's a little task. They've probably spent more on the websites of every single sub-brand that they have than probably all of us have spent on our websites in the last 5 years together. So it's a bit of a hard competition. But, so the answer to my presentation is you don't. So thanks. Who's next? Oh, no. We can't finish it there, can we? So what do you do when you're in a market that is already well occupied? And so what Ricky's done is sort of give us the whole inbound story, and what the presenters are now going to do is sort of pick into some of the individual things that Ricky mentioned, and we're going to try and give you some practical advice on how to tackle each of the little issues. So mine is all about keywords and ranking, and I'm going to call it the soft center of inbound marketing. So what you really have to start with when you're thinking about your keywords and your ranking is you have to start with your business strategy. So these sort of questions that I've got up here, you must understand where you're heading. So if we take the chocolate example, if I'm working with an organization that wants to sell their new chocolate to Tesco, as against a chocolate company who is making, say, own brand chocolate for garden centers, can you see that all of these questions that I've put on here are vastly different, and therefore your approach to keywords and ranking is going to be enormously different because you're in a different business area. So who's your business, where are your, what goals are you setting yourself, and what market are you taking? And then Ricky mentioned personas. If you can imagine the persona of a Tesco buyer as against the persona of a garden centre owner, you can see that these are vastly different people, and you'd never write the same content or produce the same content for those different types of personas. So you must understand who your personas are, and you've also, of course, got to know where you start. So in terms of where you start, it's a bit Sherlock Holmes-ish, but I think what we want to always reassure companies that are looking into keyword and rankings is it's actually quite a data-driven process. The facts are there, the numbers are there, but there definitely needs some interpretation. So we could put all of the data together and give it to 3 or 4 different groups in the room, and you'd probably all interpret it a slightly different way, but it's still driven by data and the facts. And the very first thing that we would always start with is an audit using a tool, something like SEMrush, which tells you where you start from. So it looks at your website, and it will give you some really key information, such as what is your website ranking for now, and what sort of position might you find yourself in. But also, there's a really interesting column in your spreadsheet that you get called traffic generation. And basically, it's saying what kind of keywords are bringing traffic onto your site. So you might rank first for chocolate, but actually chocolate might not generate you any traffic whatsoever. So it does take both of those into consideration, and sometimes you get some quite surprising results at what you're actually finding in your rankings. The second thing we do is very much break those rankings that you've already got into, well, let's have a look at what's on the first page. Let's have a look what's on the second page. Let's have a look what's further down in the list. Because obviously the challenge of what you do with keywords that you're already ranking on the first page is very different to the challenge of what am I going to do with the rankings that are currently sitting on the second page of Google. So that's the sort of thing we're looking at, and we end up with a set of keywords, some traffic statistics, we get some difficulty stats, and we get these ranks that we've been talking about. And then this is the sort of thing, obviously I'm not expecting you to read the detail on there, but I just wanted to sort of picture to you what we were working with. This is a sort of spreadsheet that comes from a catering company that we work with. Identity hidden for obvious purposes, but you'll see that there are bits marked in green, which are basically things that we think are a good opportunity because they're already ranking in the top 10 for, or there is a minimal amount of competition, or there's a good amount of volume. And then we go down and color code, the next rank of the 11 to 20s, and then we take a second look at those and see what opportunities there are in that second ranking. So this is the sort of thing, where we get down to spreadsheets and analysis and interpretation. Then we have to match back to some of the things that Ricky talked about. Ricky talked about the personas. So when we're looking at a whole spreadsheet full of keyword chains, long tails, short tails, we also have to match them to the personas that we have on our file, and decide which of the keywords are likely to match to which kind of personas. The other thing we're looking for very much on the list of keywords is buying intent. So always be very mindful when you're looking down a list of keywords, which ones are suggesting that the person is approaching a purchasing rather than just doing a research. So I put two examples up here. If I've got lots of people coming onto my site looking for catering ideas, and I've got some coming on looking for wedding catering Oxford, which of those two do you think is the one with the buying intent? It's the Oxford one, isn't it? Because the ideas is just somebody researching. But if you get so specific that you put wedding catering Oxford, you are looking for somebody with whom to engage. So when you've got a big list of keywords in front of you, try and discern which of those have got buying intent within them. And then finally, be very aware of keyword associations. I'll show you an example here in a second, but Google is now very much looking at content and making associations between them. So as an example, we had wedding catering, but if it's looking at cake or wedding cake, it knows that on the whole, websites that have wedding catering on also mention wedding cakes. So it's starting to build associations between keywords. So you will find useful keyword chains that don't have your generic keyword in, but it is so highly associated with your generic keyword that you will get results from it. And just bear this in mind when I say that, 25% of Google searches every day, it's never seen before, yeah? 25% of Google searches, it's never seen before. It has to do associations because it's seeing so many new variants of questions being asked. So bear that in mind. So here's an example I've taken out of Moz. Again, this is a very much a top closely associated with chocolate. So we've got Chocolate Rain, which is apparently an amazing song that went viral. Chocolate chip cookie recipes, chocolate cake recipes. It's pretty obvious, isn't it? This is the stuff at the top of the list. But if I jump down a bit later, you'll start to see I've now got California plants, which you'd be glad to know is not cannabis or anything. It's apparently a plant that tastes of chocolate or smells of chocolate. So Google knows that whenever California plants is mentioned, chocolate is near or thereabout. And we've got green and blacks there, so there's not the word chocolate in that, but it knows that if people put in chocolate, they quite often visit a green and blacks website. So it's making the associations for you. So that's really, really important. So then what we do is, in a sort of congruence of all this information, putting it all together and seeing what you get out of it. This is the sort of diagram we'd flow through where you've got a set of keyword chains that look quite promising. You're going to flow them past your personas to check which one it's addressing. And then you're going to get to a point at which you're starting to think about the questions that your persona is asking, and you're going to try and create content that fits in with the questions that they are asking. So here's an example of somebody who it looks like they are researching how to sell chocolate online, maybe. So sort of questions, very, very generic one, places to sell chocolate. Second one, best chocolate websites. So starting to have a look out there and see what other websites might be mentioning chocolate and have a ranking for it. And then the third one, which I've decided to concentrate on today, because obviously that's my title, is how to rank first for chocolate. So again, genuine question that somebody in this area may be asking that I want to answer. So the very last thing is not so much how to rank first for chocolate, but here's a question: can I rank first for how to rank first for chocolate? So you see, I've come down to the question that the person may be asking. It's got a keyword in it, but it's quite a long chain. And so for the last bit of the demonstration, I just have to flick to my browser, which is always adventurous when you've just got Wi-Fi. And if we put in here, how to rank first for chocolate. Thank you, we got there at the end. So you can see that out of a potential 96 million results, I am now ranking first for how to rank first for chocolate. Chocolate, by the way, is 697 million. So I've taken a slightly smaller group, but I'm safely at the top in Google. So thanks very much. Hope that's useful.